Hello everyone, welcome back to our video series about the American Eagle bankruptcy TA. My name is John Grace, and sitting right next to me is
Deborah Sutor.
And this is the, I believe, last installment for the regular sections of our discussion of the contract. And this video will concern itself with sections 28 through 36. Lots of improvements to talk about here. We'll start off with section 28, physical exams. And the first change we have in section 28, we've expanded the scope of the section to include flight attendants on active status as well as flight attendants on inactive status who are returning to active status. We've allowed for pay protection for flight attendants who were removed from service if the evaluation determines there was no physical or mental health condition which justified their removal. Next, we've negotiated for pay protection for flight attendants removed from service until such time as the results of the initial evaluation determine that there is a justification for removal. And the last change in Section 28, we have cemented, finally, the flight attendant's right to examine and obtain copies of all company-maintained medical records. That takes us into Section 29, co-domiciles. Pretty straightforward here, the changes that we have. Starting off, company will provide flight attendants with prepaid parking at every co-domicile at which he or she may be called to report. We've incorporated a side letter about the New York co-domicile, naming JFK as the primary domicile. And lastly, in Section 29, AFA will have a deciding voice in determining the designation of primary and secondary locations at a co-domicile. Next up is Section 30, international flying. A couple of changes here. As many of you know, there was a Cuba operations side letter lurking in the back of our current agreement. We've incorporated that into the main body now. And we've added new language which requires the company to meet and confer with AFA well in advance of the implementation of any future scheduled charter or subservice to international locations. That takes us on to a new section in our contract, Section 31. Section 31 is entitled Report to Work and Commuter Policy, and I'm going to say right at the outset, we are really, really proud of the work that we've done and the enhancements that we've achieved in this section. First up, before we actually get into the improvements here, we're going to deliver a little bit of bad news, Deb. We gave up the Me Too with the pilots on commuter policy.
We did.
It's a terrible thing. It's a sad, sad day for all the Me Toos. But, hey, we're just playing with you, because what we got was so far better than what the pilots have now. I think you guys are really going to love it. So here it is, the new report to work and commuter policy. First, flight attendants will be allowed a combined total of 5, that's right, 5 late reports and or commuter policy incidents in any rolling 12-month period. We've clarified the term commuter policy, as well as the term late report, as well as the procedures that are involved with each. There is no requirement to utilize commuter policy or late report on company-declared transportation emergency days, or TE days. A flight attendant will be assessed only one commuter policy for a single or multi-day trip, provided that he or she satisfies the policy conditions. So no more being pinged for a commuter policy on every day of a 4-day trip. As long as you meet the language, it'll be one commuter policy for a multi-day trip. Next, if a flight attendant is unable to report for a bridge trip, he or she will coordinate with crew scheduling to reach a mutually agreed upon alternative using the following options. You could deadhead the flight attendant to rejoin his original trip, or assign the flight attendant to another trip with similar overnights within the footprint of their original sequence, or remove the trip in its entirety, and the flight attendant may use open time to rebuild his schedule. If mutual agreement is not reached, crew scheduling will assign one of the above options. The commuting policy, or CP code, will not be used in any corrective action of evaluation or any corrective action under the attendance control policy. In side letter Y, late reports, we've incorporated that a crew scheduler or supervisor may direct a flight attendant to forego sign-in in order to expedite his or her arrival to the departure gate. So if you're running late and the company knows it, they can ask you to, well, specifically a scheduler or a supervisor may direct you to bypass sign-in and go straight to the gate. That's it for commuter policy. I think we scored a huge win here, and we really hope that you guys feel the same way. That'll take us into the next new chapter in our CBA. It is Section 32, EAP. In this section, we've taken some of the current practice out of a different spot in the agreement, and we've created our own EAP chapter and provided some improvements. So we've improved procedures for critical incidents, catastrophic events, incidents with the potential for being declared critical incidents. All those procedures have been refined. Management will be responsible for disseminating information about AFA EAP and its resources to flight attendants. We've ensured that management will refer flight attendants to both company and AFA EAP. We have clarified that management will provide AFA EAP contact information whenever they're discussing attendance or performance issues with flight attendants. We've ensured that AFA EAP reps will be released from duty in the event of an aircraft accident. And critical incident and emergency response notices will be given to AFA. We've ensured that AFA EAP reps may participate in flight attendant debriefings and diffusions, and we've added new language for professional standards. Lastly, in Section 32 EAP, we've added provisions for conditional reinstatement following a positive drug or alcohol test.
That's actually kind of an important one that many of you may not know. If a flight attendant tests positive for a drug or alcohol test, today, under the company policy, you can be conditionally reinstated. You could be reevaluated, and so long as you follow certain prescribed procedures, you can be returned to work. What you may not know is that at several other carriers, and AFA representative carriers, there is no such condition. It's if you test positive for a drug or alcohol, you are just simply gone and removed from service forever. So this is kind of an important provision that will now, even if company policy changes, you will have a contractual right to this.
Thanks, Deb. And that brings us to our next new section, Section 33, entitled Geographic Emergency and Aircraft Repositioning. And what the heck is that? Well, geographic emergency aircraft repositioning really concerns itself with protecting our fleet in the event of a natural disaster or impending weather event. So, within the section, we've provided guidelines for the repositioning of aircraft during emergencies like hurricanes or other naturally occurring events that would endanger life or property. Provisions that we've added include pay, per diem, and a $50 bonus for each overnight away from domicile on one of these aircraft repositioning assignments. That takes us to another section that we're really proud of, brand new section, Section 34, which is involved with hotels. In Section 34 hotels, we have enhanced day room language. We've guaranteed transportation to suitable eating facilities when no such facilities are near the hotel. We've allowed for the AFA Hotel Committee to be involved with hotel selection a little further upstream in the hotel selection process than they are currently, so that'll be good. We have a comprehensive list of hotel standards included in the agreement, which the company must meet or may be waived by mutual consent. And we've incorporated the quote-unquote hotel without water side letter. That's it for Section 34. It takes us on to Section 35, another new section, Injury on Duty / Restricted and Transitional Duty. Now this is a pretty important section. We've gotten some key improvements here. First off, we've got pay protection for remaining and scheduled flights on the duty day in which the injury occurs. Additionally, we've guaranteed the ability to use vacation or sick time for pay during the statutory waiting period on an IOD. We've allowed for continuation of sick leave accrual and monthly deposits into your sick bank while on an IOD. We've provided guidelines for restricted and transitional duty. And we've guaranteed a return to pay status no later than 2 weeks from the date that all required clearance information has been submitted to the company. And lastly, in Section 35, we've allowed for the continuation of health benefits for 12 months while on an IOD leave. Section 36, our last section, duration. In Section 36, this TA, upon ratification, will have an 8-year duration. We've also provided for a 180-day early reopener, but For those of you who might be weeping about the 8-year duration, there is actually an amendment round in year 4, and that'll occur in the year 2016.
Yeah, the amendment round will provide or will allow a procedure whereby both parties, the union and the company, can bring certain items from the contract forward. And in the provisions are pretty lengthy, but you can read through those if you'd like, and they involve arbitrators and things like that. But there's a basket of items that the company and the union can agree to take forward. And if they don't agree, then the arbitrator will decide what items can be brought forward. But certainly, pay, amongst other things, is one of the items that can be brought forward by either party in this adjustment round.
Yeah, and there's a timeline that is involved with that adjustment round, so it's not something that just dangles out there forever. There's a certain amount of time where it needs to be done. And that concludes our video presentation of the highlights of the TA. We thank you for watching.